Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Imran Ansari. While we wait to go live into Orange County, Florida for the Redlick case, there's some news stemming from the Johnny Depp-Amber Heard defamation case I'd like to discuss. A verdict came in on June 1st after almost 13 hours of jury deliberations. It was concluded that all three statements made by Amber Heard were defamatory towards Johnny Depp. The jury also found one of the three statements made by Adam Waldman on Johnny Depp's behalf to be defamatory towards Amber Heard. Both parties walked away with a monetary award, although Depp's was much higher, coming in at over $10.3 million, and Heard's coming to about $2 million. This morning, Amber Heard sat down with Savannah Guthrie for an exclusive interview with NBC. Let's hear some of that interview right now.
I don't care what one thinks about me or what judgments you want to make about what happened in the privacy of my own home and my marriage behind closed doors. I don't presume the average person should know those things, and so I don't take it personally. But even somebody who is sure I'm deserving of all this hate and vitriol, even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation. You cannot tell me that you think that this has been fair.
Of course, we also touched on what happened in court and what the jury decided. There's no polite way to say it. The jury looked at the evidence you presented. They listened to your testimony, and they did not believe you. They thought you were lying.
How could, I'll put it this way, how could they make a judgment? How could they not come to that conclusion? They had sat in those seats and heard over 3 weeks of nonstop, relentless testimony from paid employees and towards the end of the trial, randos, as I say.
So you don't blame the jury?
I don't blame them. It wasn't, I don't blame them. I actually understand he's a beloved character and people feel they know him. He's a fantastic actor.
Their job is to not be dazzled by that. Their job is to look at the facts and the evidence. And they did not believe your testimony or your evidence.
Again, how could they, after listening to 3.5 weeks of testimony about how I was a non-credible person, not to believe a word that came out of my mouth.
We're going to have more of our exclusive interview with Amber Heard first on Today, tomorrow and Wednesday morning. It's a wide-ranging sit-down. And then we'll have the conversation on a special Dateline this Friday night, hour-long, 8/7 Central.
Looking forward to that.
Okay, there you have it. Amber Heard telling Savannah Guthrie about some of her feelings post-verdict. Joseph, let's talk a little about Amber Heard and the portions of the interview that we just heard there. One thing I found interesting was that she was talking about the social media. Now, this trial took a life of its own in terms of the way the public embraced it. You know, social media was afire. There was a lot of posts, tweets, etc., memes that were created, and often they were not very friendly to Amber Heard, to put it lightly. How do you feel? Let's talk about generally. How do you feel about the information age and the way a case is tried in many ways now in the court of public opinion and not only the court of law?
Well, you know, I think that it's certainly an interesting dichotomy. However, I think that Ms. Heard was met with the harsh reality here, and something she needs to recognize, that the world is not this synthetic, the real world is not this synthetic world that's created on social media. She sat in that courtroom, as she rightly stated, and listened to weeks and weeks of testimony. The jury did too. And to Ms. Guthrie's point, you know, they had to make an unbiased decision about what they were seeing. And I got to tell you, I think the jury did a jam-up job. I mean, can you imagine just sitting there for all of those weeks? I mean, we all did, you know, but we got to leave, right? We would cover the case and then we would walk out of the room. And then, you know, but yet the jury had to listen to every bit, sitting there all day long, day after day, week after week. And they made a judgment at the end of the day based upon the information that they had gleaned. And so I think that she has kind of a disconnect if that's what she is using, the social media world, as her barometer for the real world, courtroom is certainly the real world, and it's not social media.
No, absolutely. I thought it was interesting how Savannah Guthrie pointed that out to her, that the jury had made their decision, at least they were supposed to, on the evidence that came out in court. And I think a lot of people have said that during the course of this trial, Amber Heard just did not come across as a credible witness to that jury. And I think that really is seen in the verdict that we got at the end of this trial. Now, Joseph, you know, the legal woes, if you will, of Johnny Depp, they're not over, right? So he has a win with this case, but he's already headed back to court on another assault claim. Now, this is an assault claim by his location manager, Greg Books. He's claiming that Depp punched him in the rib and taunted him, causing him emotional distress. Now, this is a lawsuit that is now just getting some light here. What do you think of the timing of it? Do you think it was purposeful that this lawsuit comes out at this point? And where do you think it's going to go for Johnny Depp?
I don't know. You know, I guess the cynic in me would say blood's in the water. I'm going to the beach pretty soon. So blood's in the water, the sharks begin to surround you. So, you know, and I would anticipate that there could be other things that come about. You remember the cry that has been going up for several years now is that we believe all victims. And I think that obviously is important, but do we believe all accusers? Well, this is the measure for it now, isn't it? You know, you're going to go to court and we're going to find out if the accuser, the litmus test is going to be the court. And I think he's emboldened now. You know, bring what you got. We'll go to court. We'll see what you have. Let's see how this turns out at the end. He's had this great success relative to Amber Heard. Let's see what happens with this assault accusation.
Right, Joseph, I 100% agree with you that there has been a trend in terms of giving the benefit of the doubt to the accuser and perhaps not giving the same due process to the accused. I think this trial really may be the sort of turning point where you see that someone who is accused of domestic violence can get a fair trial, perhaps, and also that a man could also be a possible victim of domestic violence. I think there's so many lessons to be learned from this trial, and we're all looking at that now. Stay tuned here at Law&Crime. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more recapping some legal news.